Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Kissy. I wanted to go ahead and do a reading for the collective, but before we begin, I want to have a little conversation in regards to some messages that I want to share. So, there's the part of us that is the healthy ego. The part of us that we project in social settings or at our best, let's just say at our best, because to some it might not be in social settings, it might be in private settings, but it's the part of us that is the most authentic, which would be the things that that you do because you do them, not just personally, privately, but then that is also a joy to share when you share it, because it just comes naturally to be that, or to do that, or to be whatever way that may be, right? I'm noticing with this full moon in Leo that life feels like a musical. It feels like a musical. Everything from that expression, from the heart space, from the Leo space, feels like a it's your most authentic voice. It's your most creative self. It's a part of you that is high on life, you could say. If you want to say that it's at your the state of being that's not necessarily euphoric, but it's also a sense of depth. Like, in other words, when you're listening to music, it's not just your ears hearing it. Your heart is feeling it. When you're watching, like when you're using your senses, there's a depth of perception, a perceptual depth, I guess, is the best way to put it. So it's like you absorb it better, you feel it better, you take in the information better. But also the presence, because you're in that space, there's a lack of, it's like your center stage, right? You are the center of attention. In other words, your own consciousness observing you as the center of attention, you, your ego. So it's not the part of you that sits on the sidelines judging you. It's not the part that's sitting on, some faraway space, detached, non-emotionally present, just looking at you and then just talking from the side of their mouth. They're like not even interested. There's these aspects of ourselves where we take away the attention of us because we're putting it on everything else. But there's this aspect of ourselves, this deeper presence within ourselves, that when we tune that in our heart space, the perception of the world around you is rich. It's very rich with gratitude. It's rich with it's like you can take in the small things, the small moments, in a sense where nothing else matters in the world. So it's like a very, it feels like, so if you, let's just, okay. If in your mind space, you live in the crowd, like, let's just say in your mind space, it always feels like you live in this like nightclub of people. It's dark, the lights are glimmering everywhere. The music is loud and everything is like, it's hard to, you can't really feel or see the people. You're kind of walking through the crowd and everybody's just kind of like, in their mess or in their experience. But you can't really be in your own experience because you're so like, wow, looking at everything around you. And you're just focused on, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here to go wherever the hell you want to go. But this is mentally, in your mental state. You feel like you got to get out of this mental state because where you want to be is somewhere else instead of being where you are, right? So it's like that is a distraction of the presence. So the voice that I'm referring to, the perception I'm referring to, is the one that in a mist, amidst the noise, amidst all of that, you're so in the space that what you're giving attention to is how you're taking in the experience. You're taking it in as when you're taking the world in from a gratitude space, you're basically like everything is just filled with pleasure, filled with like a certain depth of gratitude. Gratitude is like you feel so lucky to be in that space, whatever that is for you, right? And then also it's like I said, it's like a musical. So there's these depth moments engaging with the reality, no matter what it is. Driving down a suburban road that is, you can see burnt buildings, graffiti everywhere, abandoned family centers. Driving in that, seeing a crippled person on the side of the street, just living their experience, having their moment, watching this and feeling like this is us. This is where we are. This is what we see. So when you're really rich in the perception, everything of the world that you take in is filled with gratitude. Is filled with like, I love this experience, because it's like you get to explore your reality versus thinking your reality is anything else outside of that, and aiming and focus so deeply on a goal that goes outside of yourself that you don't even feel connected to in any way other than in your mind. But when you get present, no matter what, where, who you're around, no matter what even the experience is, even if it's so, you'll feel like you're participating in a narrative where you're the main character, but you're the audience, and you're getting to experience. So it feels novel. It feels like a musical, I guess we can say. It's the only way I can refer to it when you really tap in. So I'll give you one example of true life. So my son and I were driving on our way home. We were having a conversation about, if he can experience anywhere in the world other than the United States, what culture would he like to explore? What, like, music, what foods, what people, like, where is his curiosity? Where would you like to experience like a different world? And I started talking to him about my experience with certain countries that I've been to and how it feels. It puts you in a position within yourself of really like appreciating the experience, like that wow thing of, because it's like you're not in a mundane reality. You're not in a been here, done that vibe, or okay, this scene needs to change kind of feeling. All of a sudden you're put in a scene that feels so foreign, but foreign and comfortable, and you're feeling like, wow, okay. Anywho, so me and my son started discussing, where would he want to go and whatnot. And then he started talking about China. And then we were talking about languages. I asked him, I'm like, oh, I can put some, shows for you that are a different language so you can take in the language, listen to it, and just get familiar with any language you want. Again, feeling the curiosity. And so then he says this phrase, but we were talking about China, and he's saying it sounded like he was trying to say a statement that was Chinese. Oh, because he asked me, do you speak Chinese? And I was like, I only know how to say ni hao because of Kailan, the cartoon. So I'm like, I just know ni hao. I was like, all right. So my mindset is on China. So when he tells me this phrase, I'm thinking he's expressing a phrase that he heard on a show or something like that. And the phrase was very, it sounded, he goes, Ñauti maninga. I said it just like he said it, right? So it sounded very like, okay, not English, not Spanish. The only languages that I know fairly well. And so I'm like, yeah, that's not English or Spanish. I'm like, what are you trying to say? And so he can't really tell me. All of a sudden, it started to like sound like he kept repeating it and repeating it. And then at one point, I heard it, and it was a Spanish phrase, which is Dios te bendiga. And I'm like, oh my, I start laughing, cracking up. I'm like, Dios te bendiga, because we had just finished talking to my mom about maybe half an hour prior to that or an hour before that. And so every time she speaks to him, or, it's customary in our culture to for parents to say that to their children, to their grandchildren, Dios te bendiga, which is God bless you at the beginning of the initiation of a call. So, she'll talk to me, she says Dios te bendiga, and it's just like a normal conversation, right? And I just kind of like bypass it like it's nothing. And then, she talks to my son, she gets all excited because that's her grandchild, and he's only 7. So she's like, Dios te bendiga, mi amor, and then, but then the rest is all in English because he doesn't understand Spanish. Okay, so why am I saying that? Because, again, it put me in the present moment. When I heard him, it's almost like watching it from his perspective. To him, it's foreign language. Spanish is not something he's growing up with like I did. I grew up in a Spanish environment. So the second language for me was English. But for him, his second language is Spanish because it's just out of, I guess, convenience. But anyway, my point that I'm making is to him, the language was foreign. But what it did when I saw it from his perception, it forced me to translate it into English, right? And as I'm explaining it to him, I'm like, your grandmother's saying, God bless you. And then I realized she does this all the time. Every single time she speaks to him on the phone, to me even. But I never took in the depth of the statement, because in English, when I talk to my daughter, I'm like, hi. When I talk to my son, I'm like, hi, how are you? I don't start the conversation with God bless you. And it's not that my intention within isn't, God bless you. Like, as a mother, you want to bless your children, right? You bless your children, unconsciously, consciously, whatever it is. But there's always like a sense of you're blessing your child when you're experiencing them. But the words aren't there. And even though I received those words like a habit, a custom, it was so regular, it was so part of my cultural upbringing that I never really reflected back on the presence of God in my everyday life. In my, you know what I mean? Because I didn't grow up religious. I didn't grow up, in a culture that, God was a conversation, every day. It wasn't like that. And so, gosh, I'm really going into that, huh? But anyway, so hearing it in English or translating it in English, and then realizing how regular it was in my life, even though I didn't grow up religious, I grew up in a very God presence home environment. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it felt very like where I could have, as an adult, look back and be like, no, my family's not very religious. They're not, they don't really, they're not worshipers. They're not God worshipers like that. You know what I mean? I guess you could say that. But it gave a whole other context. So it's like it's ingrained in the culture to bestow God's grace upon our children. And it gave me like a lot of relief, because my father says it to me all the time. My mom says it to me all the time. And it's like you take those things for granted. And it was just really nice to tell my son, you know, this is what your grandma says to you. And it's beautiful, so... This is why I don't record when I'm really tapped in to my own sense of emotions, because I don't really do the whole get emotional thing about little things like that. But I do, actually. But it's only in like certain areas of life where I'm very like comfortable expressing that, you know? So, anyway. One of the other things that I think that's why a lot of people block out the heart chakra ultimately, and I'm speaking from obviously my own experience with it. It's basically like showing your emotional side. If you grew up where that was uncomfortable for people, you got comfortable not expressing it or not being emotional, because emotions or the tears or the overflow, it's some people can handle that. And it's like, it's not supposed to be a sad thing. It's not supposed to be a shameful thing. It's not supposed to be something to mock or laugh at or think is corny or weird or awkward. It's actually supposed to be a sign of love. And it should be very normal. It should be very normal, but it's not normal. It's not normal. I don't know why they don't make that normal in reality. But it's like it's normal in some dynamics with some people in certain contexts, but it's not normalized in like it's just normal anywhere, anytime, however. Like, no, is it normal to like be a receptionist at an organization and like somebody walks in and you're like, oh my god, your shoes are so cute, and then you start to cry? That isn't necessarily normal, but it shouldn't be frowned upon either. Not to say that I've done something like that, but I'm just saying, I guess maybe the conversations about vulnerability and how uncomfortable it is for people to share like you would think sharing appreciative emotions of love would actually be like rewarded or given credit, or I don't know. I don't know. Oh, it's so weird. But yeah, I mean, I'm weird, I guess. Aren't we all in some ways? Jeez Louise. Alright, kiddos. Here we go. We're about to do some serious introspection into the stars. Let's find out what's going on. Let's see. Let's do a general reading for the collective. Divine masculine, divine feminine. Let's find out what the core is. Ooh, okay. We begin with the Six of Swords. You'll have someone crossing waters, okay, shifting emotions into a space that's less mentally conflicting, okay? It's like you put your swords down, you put the stress down, you put the emotional, mental conflict down, and you're able to move across waters into some, you know, into new land that is less hostile. What crosses is the Four of Swords in reverse. So what once was peaceful contemplation, rest, recovery, healing is now like uprooted. It's enough healing, enough recovery, enough rest. I'm done. Like, now I want to move on. I want to go into the experience of life itself. Even if it is a drama, even if it is a sad movie of life, you know what I mean? Like, you go through these phases, whatever they are. But it's like, there are some parts of life that the old version of yourself, how you responded emotionally or mentally to a situation, no longer is doing its thing. It's no longer fulfilling. It's no longer serving, or it's like, no, we got to find a new way and a better way to cope, I guess, maybe. If not coping, accept. And if not accepting, I would say is finding joy in where you are. If it's not, because it's like, you can say, okay, this is my life. So it's a peaceful life, but is it, do you have that oomph in it? Do you have that passion in it? Do you have that passion? Like, how can that life become something more bright, more, like I said earlier, more pleasurable, in the sense of, like, you can make any experience a sensual experience, but it requires a certain shift. But that shift is inspired by an inspiration. That inspiration is sparked by something. It's inspired by this spark, and the spark comes from like when you're falling asleep, but you don't want to fall asleep. And then, like, your body just jolts and you wake up real fast. Like that. It's like a mechanism in yourself that doesn't allow you to go to sleep. And that spark, it reminds you, holy shift, as Christopher Witecki would say. I'm here, I'm present, I get to be me, I get to do me in my unique way. Like, I get to experience, this is what I have in my world, this is what is my world. And that perception of it becomes something so much more magical than previously suspected. Anywho, oh my goodness. Let's see. So let's really get into this here. Who do we have here? Ooh, we have a Scorpio. We have a Pisces. A Capricorn. Okie dokes. I don't have my light. My daughter took my light, so I can't make it brighter for you guys. Sorry. So, anywho. What do we have? So we talked about moving to shifting emotionally, getting out of our head, getting out of a stagnant situation. Even if that stagnant situation was a period of healing, of rest, of silence, of repose, there's this energy, this Scorpio energy, this passion, this sacred will that feels very determined. It's in reverse. So you might be in your Scorpio-Pluto vibe, possibly. I want to clarify why we have that in the first house. Options. I feel like if all other options were closed and this is it, you're going to become very passionate of what it is, of what is it. It's like, okay, if this is the cards I've been dealt, if this is what I gotta be, if this is what I gotta do, if this is who I am, then I'm gonna make this the best version of this that I can, regardless of what that is. There's emotional, there's like a rebalancing of emotions. And the rebalancing of the emotions is in the environment, but it's in the internal environment. With the kitchen in reverse in the second house, there's like a sense your values are being shifted, and these values are now coming more into balance, but it's internal. It's an internal balance. Because with Pisces in reverse in the environment, in the third house, with your siblings, with your family, it's like that big picture, that dream picture that you may have had about how you're going to live, who you're going to live with, how you're going to do it, like whatever that is, that whole dream now is suddenly focused on, what about the dream of just you, of who you are, of just like without that environment that we talked about. Because Pisces is the subconscious, so it's almost like, it's like this one spot, it's like one star in a very vast, dark space. So now, instead of that one star in a very vast, dark space, from that perspective looking out, it's like, wow, there's so much to be focused on. Who can focus on this one, point? But now you shift it, and you're looking from this dark, vast space, looking at that one little spark. And that one spark, that one star now becomes the star, the center stage, the focus of attention. Everything goes right directly to that one. And that's you, yourself, within. It's like, wow. It's like how you have been with others, perhaps. Like that one thing that you love so much, that you want to give it so much love and so much nurturing to, and just whatever that is, a project, a person, a pet, a project. That was a lot of P's there, huh? Pee 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 pee. Okay, maybe somebody gotta go pee pee. I don't know. Listen. Anyway, let me put my crystals because they're hitting the table. So there's this emotional range in the home with the ballroom in the fourth house. The ballroom represents a range of emotions. You see the piano there, all the keys of the piano in the home. So when you have all the keys in the home, you have access to everything. Everything. When you're most at home. And all the keys are beautiful. All the keys are beautiful. The low keys, the high keys, and how they interact in between. Even the disharmony within. Like when you're, let's say when you're learning to play, all those off keys or all those things, what makes them beautiful is that without them, you couldn't have the masterpiece created. You couldn't have the song or the theme or the melody or the rhythm or the soul without the keys. So there's some spiritual lesson that hasn't quite changed, transformed. Let's look deeper into that. The Chariot. So this is movement, but I feel like it's balanced movement. I feel like there was a lesson that you learned, or some spiritual it could even be a partnership, but I feel like this is like maybe like a soul lesson that needed to transform. I feel like it was just waiting for balance to happen. Spiritual balance with the physical and spiritual balance had to occur before we can go forward. because moving forward leads us to the billiard with the wrench. So the wrench is doing something we really love in our daily routine. Getting to do something, fixing something. Because when you think of the wrench, it's tying, it's like, the fudge does a wrench do? It tightens the bolts. So it's like somebody has some screw loose, you know what I mean? Like, we're tightening the bolts. We're adjusting the mind for balance here, okay? So any kind of like screws that were loose are being tightened. Listen, that's what came through, so it is what it is. This is also referencing the 5th house, something you love, something that, but in terms of doing something you love. In the 6th house, which is routines and habits, doing something on habit, maybe adjusting a habit or habitually adjusting your habits. Habitually adjusting habits. Okie dokes. So then we have, in the house of partnership, the billiard room in reverse. This is interesting. I feel like you're no longer playing games or being put into circumstances that has to do with games, because it's the billiard. People, what do? You're playing a game in partnership. But this is also the house of spiritual lessons. So there was a lesson in regards to your habits and routine that either didn't have to change or hasn't changed. Let's clarify. Yeah, it's completed. Maybe it was something that didn't have to change, so it's complete. It's like, oh, that I didn't have to change that? So all this time I've been doing this thing that I thought I had to stop doing, and I didn't have to stop doing something, so now that I know I don't have to stop doing whatever that is, lesson complete, cycle complete. Imbalance, whatever storyline had an imbalance is now complete. There's a balance now. So there's something that is hidden when it comes to the home, something that's not being exposed. It could have to do with some competition or some conflict in regards to resources or something of a taboo nature. So it has to do with some major, this would be very disruptive if it comes out. It would be devastating if it's found out. Oh, geez. Oh, something about an emperor in reverse. What the hell is the emperor in reverse doing? That would be devastating. Do we really want to know? Do we really want to know? Do we really want to know? Oh, King of Cups in reverse. It could be an emperor that's a water sign. Scorpio. I was going to say Sag, so take that with a grain of salt. Scorpio, Pisces, or Cancer. Could be a emperor in reverse. Some dark emotions. Maybe it would be devastating to know that an emperor is really in a dark space emotionally or in conflict. I feel like they've had enough. I heard enough. Silencio. I heard silence. Silence. So you're going to get some kind of information about the situation, whatever it is. It might just be, it's a matter of perception, okay? I feel like it could be how you look at it, where it won't be so challenging to bear the thought of what this might be. So I would let go of the burden. Let go of the burden. If that caused some kind of anxiety or some kind of like little trigger or something of a negative concern or something like that. I would say let go of that burden. Not your responsibility. Not your responsibility. Not yours to carry, not yours to deal with, not yours. Just let it go. Okay? Anywho. So, someone is seeing a Capricorn in a negative light. There could be a Capricorn that was waiting for an opportunity to come in order to travel, perhaps. This person might be seeing a psychic. I'm getting a vibe like this is someone that was competing for a position in, because this is Capricorn in reverse in the 9th house with the 3 of Wands. So this is someone that's controlling, someone that is sadistic even. Could be like a religious person or a scholar that was waiting for an opportunity. Maybe to be a psychic or to be considered the high priestess. Oh, Lorde. A 9 of Pentacles with the Moon in reverse. This is an independent lady with some hidden motives. Perhaps using her intuition improperly to maintain a position. We shall leave it at that. Moving forward, we have the study in reverse in the 10th house. So there's something that either you don't want to study anymore when it comes to your career, when it comes to what you're known for. Let's clarify. Yeah, maybe you were learning about the 5 of Pentacles is feeling left out and feeling out in the cold, feeling isolated, kind of like you don't belong here vibes, right? So maybe there was something like, maybe it feels almost as if there was a something or someone or vibe, okay, was trying to enforce a study on you, or maybe to force you to learn something about, the way I heard it, about poverty, maybe even sickness. I don't know what this is, but it feels dark. It feels like, I feel like you rejected that. I mean, what is that? You walked away from it. It wasn't a healing journey. That wasn't healing. A King of Swords, perhaps, a Gemini, Libra, Aquarius person was trying to get you to perhaps, they wanted you to study maybe illness, sickness, poverty, but it wasn't meant to heal, or wasn't healing. And the person that was doing it was an air sign, or that wanted that is an air sign. Maybe trying to, this is like some kind of leader, intellectual leader that was trying to like make you learn something, but it's in reverse. They wanted you to learn something about yourself, or focus on yourself in a negative way, in a way that made you feel bad about yourself or negative. Maybe they didn't want you to heal. Maybe this was a leader that was threatened, because this is in the 10th house, occurring in the 10th house. They might have been threatened, and you walked away from that either way. Yeah, you searched within. With the Hermit, you kind of like decided I can shed light on my own self without you guiding me, trying to push me to focus maybe on the negative things or focus on darkness. I don't know what it is, but regardless, you show up here very content, very happy with your status, with your position, with what you've acquired. You're emotionally fulfilled. And we have the revolver in the 11th house. The Magician in reverse with the 10 of Pentacles in reverse. This is like a group wanted you to go back to a dark space when it comes to your home. This was probably this Capricorn energy or feminine energy trying to be a high priestess was using manipulation tactics to keep you from having a 10 of Pentacle energy, meaning to keep you. Now, I'll say this. I just posted something about, listening to readers that give you bad energy or anything like that. None of this you have to take in if it doesn't resonate. Ooh. Blessed art thou. All right. However, the energy at its basic, if you looked at it, if it's not outside of you, it's occurring within you. An archetype within you, going against certain other archetypes within you. Okay? I share in that perspective because I like everyone to be self-accountable. So it's almost like, even if it is an outsider doing it, right? Because it's a manifestation of something within at all. That's the way it is. And a lot of people will be like, no, but I didn't create that. I didn't make that happen. At the end of the day, the story of your life, when you take full accountability, you'll take full accountability even for the darkness that manifests against you. Because if you're writing the story of your life and you write a character that goes against you, then that's, you know what I mean? If you make yourself the main character and then you decide you want your main character to be X'd out, you have a choice. You can do that, or you can make it where the main character doesn't get X'd out. In other words, whether you have an archetype within or there's archetypes without that we're trying because it's in the 11th house. The revolver is the home. It's in reverse. Okay? So a group, okay, in the 11th house wanted you back to return, because revolver, when I translate it, is to go back to a home situation that was dark. Manipulation. They use manipulation, the Magician in reverse, to try to keep you from feeling stable or creating stability or creating a legacy or being in health. 10 of Pentacles can be any of those things. Okay? A stable family, a legacy, financial stability, a home, health, fulfillment, excuse me. So again, take that again with a grain of salt. As without, so within, as within, so without. So you gotta, again, if you really want to take the power into your own hands, the only way that you can change a circumstance is when you change yourself. That means even the outside enemy has to be you that created the enemy. And when you take that power away from the outside being your enemy, you realize, I'm my own enemy. And if you are your own enemy, then you know your own enemy, and then you can mitigate that enemy within and then change the circumstance without. Anywho. Revolver in reverse in the 12th house again. So subconsciously going back to, and it's in reverse also. Again, the Knight of Swords. So you had, this is I guess like the flying monkeys of this King of Swords. They were trying to mentally, I just heard mentally cock block you. In order for you to stay in a state of like being either stuck at home literally or stuck in a state where in your own heart you were not in a healthy place emotionally. And this is subconsciously. But in reverse, it's almost like you subconsciously rejected those flying monkeys. You rejected those thoughts, those challenging thoughts, and you changed your fortune with the Wheel of Fortune. So by rejecting those negative thoughts that were probably being projected by this individual or this group that was guided by this individual, you were able to change your fortune. That's why you were able to cross some emotional boundary or cross some emotional state in order to be at rest, in order to be in your, in your space at peace. Ooh, look, with the Fool, a new beginning. An entire new beginning, like a fool going out into the world, exploring it like it's new. Exploring everything from that perspective of joy, excitement, enthusiasm, lightheartedness, as if you did not experience darkness, as if you did not experience pain, as if you did not experience betrayal or heartbreak. Whatever that was, it's like, clean slate. It's almost like putting on a new outfit or putting on a new body or putting on a new life, right? It's like, this is when they say you crossed over, you went to heaven, and when they talk about reincarnation or incarnating into a new, you incarnated into a new. Oh my. I told you it was going to go deep. Oh my goodness. Well, I think that covers it. What do you think? Ooh, I did want to say something else. So I was listening to I don't often listen to the radio when I'm driving. I'll listen to like my own playlist or whatever. But today, I was going to pick that up, but it's not even recorded. Today I was driving and I had some music on. And so, of course, you get to hear the DJs, their show space, that they kind of do segments. So they asked this question. The question was, who do you think has your best interest at heart? Your spouse or your mother? And they're like, tune in tomorrow and, call us in with your answers, blah, 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 whatever. So I guess, this is to entice the audience. And then the audience thinking, oh, we're participating. It's a game. We just want to everybody wants to give their opinion, right? Everybody wants to be right. But then when you really think about it, it's like, that's a very subjective question because everybody's experience of a spouse is not the same and everybody's experience of a mother is not the same. So why would they even ask that? Well, they ask that because for every community, every city where this, every station has their own version of that same question. And if not that, it's based on the demographic or it's based on where you live. And what they do with that is they'll get a toll. That's how they find out what the community mindset is, what they vote on. Just on something as basic as, what do you think? A spouse or a parent? Now, you'll call in and vote in, and people will go online and they'll put in their votes and blah, blah, blah. And they gather that tally, and then they'll start to write the narrative. And the narrative would be something like, relationships break up more times than not due to mother-in-laws meddling into their business. If everybody picked that they trust their spouse more than their mother. Or something to the effect, or more divorces are occurring because of mother-in-law issues. Or let's say you pick the mother, or you pick the spouse, they'll say like, mothers are less involved in their children's marriages because they feel rejected in today's society. Whatever. And based on that, they'll create medication. Based on that, they'll create, certain topics to bring up in schools, in the hospitals, in the doctor's offices. And they'll, monitor these archetypes and you'll start to wonder, like, oh, how is society created, or how do they do it? Well, that's how they're doing it. They're constantly taking, like, for example, I had an appointment with my daughter, and there was like this, some program. Oh, would you mind taking this survey, blah, 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 girls from this age to this age, we want to just ask a few questions and see if you qualify, and then we'll offer you an incentive if you participate and you meet this, the criteria of our program, then you may be able to participate in this thing. And in her mind, my daughter, she's looking at it like, oh, if I do it for this time frame, I'll get paid this much. They're giving it to me just to participate, is how she sees it. She takes her little thing, and then they call back and they're like, oh no, she wasn't quite the fit for it. I could tell you, I haven't had the opportunity yet to talk with my daughter and ask her what the survey was about. But if my daughter wasn't a fit, it's because she doesn't go with the expected outcome that they're looking for. The expected outcome that they're looking for has an agenda. It has a target that they're looking for. They got to find so many that are fitting that criteria in order for the funding for that program to even happen. So it has something to do with that, I guarantee. But anywho, I think that was all, folks. I'm almost sure that was all, folks. Is there anything else, Spirit? Anything else? Nope, I think we're good. Alrighty, I'll come back soon with something else. Take care.